Now joining us via Skype from Cape Town is Director of Open Secrets, Henny van Vuuren. Henny, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good to speak to you. First, let's talk about the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, the OCCRP. Should we take them seriously?
Tony, I think so indeed. It's a credible organization undertaking investigative journalism into the links between global organized crime and corrupt elites, both within the private sector and within government. They are an organization, at least within a South African context, through their local investigative journalist, Khadija Sharif, their Africa editor, who produced incredibly important work exposing many of the links that HSBC, the big banks and others have had to the Gupta money laundering network. Remember the procurement of those locomotives from China South and North Rail. It was OCCRP who helped expose the extent to which Salim Essa, who was part of the Gupta network, is alleged to have laundered up to an amount of over R1 billion approximately, which were his alleged proceeds from that corrupt transaction into a range of front companies. So they have a strong track record, and they have historically done excellent work on issues around organized crime and corruption in state capture and other instances.
Now, Henny, is there any indication of wrongdoing by the public protector in this report that's been brought out? What sort of evidence are they providing?
Well, Tony, this is where it becomes a little bit more difficult, because I think despite the excellent track record that they have as an organization, unfortunately, in this instance, I would argue it's a half-baked story. I think when we look at this, there is certainly the indication that Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane was investigated. She was flagged by HSBC. You recall, one of the biggest banks in the world, based in Hong Kong, that through a Hong Kong bank account, which is also which Essa and Co were using at the time to launder their funds. It was through a account that she was paid money into her FNB bank account. Now, she denies that it happened in this particular instance, but it is not proof that she received money from the Guptas. There's nothing to suggest that that happened in this instance. And so I think that the danger is that the story is presented in such a way, and it's picked up by commentators, by the media and others to argue either that there's definite proof of corruption or there's proof that the so-called other side is trying to sling mud at her. There is over enough good reason not to trust the judgment of the public protector on a number of key decisions based on the findings of the constitutional and other high courts in this country. Equally, there's good reason for us not to trust, well, if you like, not trust, but certainly be suspicious of the activities of banks like HSBC, who have been clearly complicit in the Gupta criminal network. They were the enablers that allowed this to happen. I think the argument needs to be that we do need to tone down the volume on this discussion somewhat and recognize the facts are that there is sufficient evidence to bring the banks before the Zondo Commission, ask them the tough questions that we should be doing, even if in this instance we don't necessarily have evidence that sticks against the public protector as the story stands thus far.
Okay, I just want to get back to the public protector now. She's looked at this this report by OCCRP, and she's come out saying that this is part of a campaign against us, dirty tricks from some figures and their allies in civil society, political circles, and in the media. Surely, an organization like OCCRP can't be reached by any South African politician coerced to do whatever they wish for them to do.
I can't speak on their behalf, but I can certainly say that they have, as I said, a track record of doing credible investigative work. Rather, I think the question needs to be asked, the public protector, was that the kind of response that we'd be expecting from the head of a critical Chapter 9 institution that should be above the political fray? Again, we see Advocate Mkhwebane wanting to enter the political scrum. I think her response should have been a curt one from her office to say if she has no knowledge of it, she did not receive the funds, that she never did receive funds from Hong Kong, and if she did, she would need to explain why she received those funds, and that would be the end of the story. But to turn around and I think to immediately suggest that this is part of some big conspiracy again is hugely problematic, because I think it undermines the public trust and understanding in many of these processes. I think we need much clearer messaging from the side of the Office of the Public Protector and others, and for them to remain outside of the political fray, because I think understandably it leads to the perception that she is playing politics as well. And so I think the important issue is that we need to focus on the facts. Right now, we don't have evidence of her implication in corruption. That may well emerge or may not emerge. What we do have is strong evidence of the role of the banks and others in economic crime. None of this detracts from that, and it's time that we hold those actors to account.
Okay. Annie, just lastly here, there are many calls, many quarters are calling for the Public Protector to maybe call it a day and vacate her office. But, of course, she's come out and says she won't resign. What are your thoughts on her future?
Well, I do think I think she's feeling cornered, and she's certainly acting cornered right now. And I think that as much as she and her office keep on reminding us that they are there to protect the interests of ordinary citizens, she's become so embroiled in the political machinations, and we need to recognize in this country that it is a legacy of what happened under Thuli Madonsela, in the same way that the former Public Protector was seen as this anti-bastion of the struggle with corruption.
All right. I think we're just losing that.
Change.
All right. Sorry, Henny. Well, we got the gist of what you were saying there. We were starting just to lose you there.